Hello, welcome everybody. My name is Brittany and I am here with my lovely friend Kimberly, and we are going to be talking about astral traveling and dreams today.
Yeah, it's a hot topic.
Very hot topic. It is coming up everywhere. Everywhere.
Yeah. Well, and with all the planetary movement and non-movement, we were referring to it as the emotional weather. Today is the full moon in Pisces, which is beautiful and magical and makes everybody want to go find a cave and hide in it.
Mm-hmm.
It can like give you this like burst of beautiful creative energy, and you want to talk to other people about how happy you feel, and then like in the next breath you just want to go hide, and then we're in Mercury retrograde yesterday, and then the 9/9 portal, I don't even know 100% what that is, except that Tesla comes to mind with everything can be explained in 369. So that was probably pretty powerful yesterday.
I saw like a light code activation somebody had created for the 9/9 portal, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but I will accept that code.
Yeah.
Like it must be important for something.
Please repair something that is broken. I will.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Just do whatever is can.
Yeah. It's so the reason we decided to do this is I have been observing, and I'm not sure, Brittany, you might also, dreams and astral projection and where the fuck am I going when I'm asleep, like that seems to be on everyone's mind right now. We know leading up to this powerful energy, coming off the Lionsgate energy last month, which was the 8/8 portal, that seems to affect people more than most, including myself. I don't normally try to put too much energy into when people are saying, oh, it's a Mercury retrograde, because if you're affected by something, you are, and if you're not, no big deal. But man, this something is sparking people's memories, and it's probably also the combination of the solar flares, but people are waking. What's funny is people are waking up, and it seems to be happening when they're asleep.
The guides are like, we'll get to you somehow.
Yeah. We'll get to you when you're resting. Well, the thing is, this has always been happening. Like, we've always been activated. We're always traveling when we sleep. We're always going other places and dimensions and timelines. But there are so many levels of like people who never remember their dreams, people who have interesting dreams but don't want to know what to make of them. Sometimes they're really scary or really powerful. And then there's what I have recently started to understand is, in these last few years for me anyway, is that I'm actually going somewhere else, and that it's I love it. It's wonderful. But like I think people are starting to wake up to the level that they can handle, and I don't know. So what's your take on that?
Oh, well, I think that so where it really started picking up for me when I took a deeper dive into like what my dreams were trying to tell me, which I am going to ask you what you think the difference between dreams and like astral traveling is, because I think that's a very interesting hot topic right now too. But when I started trying to dissect my dreams is when the astral travel started picking up, because it was almost like I was like building a skill set to keep myself like quote unquote safe in the astral realm. And learn how to kind of like manage that energy. But also like I had a thought one day, and it was, how do I know that those places that I'm going aren't as real as this one? And then everything just started like clicking in after that. So did you have any like experience like that where you're just like, oh, wait a minute?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So the first thing that just came to mind is this morning I was listening to one of Dolores Cannon's ongoing radio show that she was doing up until, I believe, 2014 or 2015. And she mentioned something kind of cool. Like, I've heard almost everything Dolores Cannon has had to say, because that in the beginning of my ascension, she was most of what I listened to. But she said, nothing exists until it's being observed.
The observer effect. Yes.
the observer effect, right? You know, right. She did not coin this. I understand, but the fact that she brought it up, you know, and it's not the if a tree falls on the floor, that doesn't have to be it. Meaning, she was talking more about like illness, you know, like if yes, you feel pain, and it's because you're there to observe the fact that you feel the pain. You know, okay, this is not astral travel, but it made me think of astral travel in the sense that I'm observing it, but the way I feel when I'm observing it is different. So growing up, I've always dreamt. Like, I've always remembered my dreams. They were always very colorful. I've gone through parts of my life when I had a dream journal, which is really beneficial. I'm not drawn to do it now, but like if anyone is really interested in understanding their dreams or trying to decipher if they're waking up and remembering an astral travel, or if they're waking up and just remembering a dream where their brain is trying to work out something in their life, keeping a dream journal does really help, because you can go back and read it. You can do it with just giving yourself voice messages on your phone. You know, there's plenty of ways to do it depending on how much you want to get into it.
I would also add on to that, if you tell your subconscious before you go to bed, I want to remember my dreams, your subconscious likes having a job to do. So if you say, I'm going to remember my dreams, and like you said, voice note it to yourself, like right when you wake up, that definitely helps.
But if you like, time is speeding up, manifestation is speeding up. If this is something that you want to do, number one, it's going to happen. And number two, you better get ready. So, you know,
get into
whatever,
that.
whatever. Yeah. So, when I first noticed that, like, I'm still realizing that things that I remembered were like what I now know are dimensions that I go to, where I just thought they were dreams. But when I first was aware of the change of the way, even from like the aspect of where my point of view is in these things, when I first started when I first started getting downloads, which was one of the strangest sensations. Luckily, I even had a word for it, because if you're new to this and you're not quite sure what like, you hear the word download, upload, energy upload, light code, you know, like, stop. You know, if you don't know what all those different things are, and that's fine. I like, just because I even use the words and I feel like I have a slight interpretation of what those things are, I'm still learning on a regular basis. But what I can say is we'll call them downloads. My first set of downloads that kind of came in hard in 2020 I felt like it was a loop. It was like I knew that I was being shown something, where when you dream, you're part of the dream. Or even if you're an observer of something and you're not in the dream, it's still like you're watching a movie. At least for me. So my downloads were like these intense loop, like showing me the top of a mountain, like a perspective of seeing a mountain, and it would just keep taking me back there. And now I know it was one of my higher selves telling me that this is important. Remember that this is important. You're learning something. And myself as the observer in this download saying, okay, I'm listening. I got it. I'm going to remember this. Not understanding what it was, what I'm seeing, like, except for the fact that it was a mountain. I don't really know why you're showing me this. But then once I was like, okay, we're there again. And I think the best way to describe that is, let's just assume everyone here has ridden a roller coaster. When, whether it's big or small, when you get up to the top of that hill and you're about to go down and your stomach drops and you feel that like rush of adrenaline, that is only associated with falling, right? So you can there's probably a split second when right before you're about to go down, when your unconscious goes, we're going to feel that feeling again. But it only happens when you go on the roller coaster, right? Something happens in a download when you like wake up in the middle of it and you're like, we're going to feel that feeling again. But it's the feeling, it doesn't feel like a roller coaster. It's the feeling that is associated with a download. Like, I'm in that place again. If you say, I'm in that place again, then you are somewhere else. If you wake up during it, and I'm not saying you're controlling it, but if you are in an observer situation where you're like, I am receiving information, this is coming to me, it doesn't mean that you understand the information that's coming to you, but you know that you're in a space or a place where you're channeling something, you're receiving something. Don't worry about it. It's going to unlock later. But when you are aware that that is happening is when you're experiencing a download, for me.
Oh, that's very interesting. I like that analogy. So I was trying to like process as you were talking. So when I realize I am getting a download, it's not like I'm asleep, quote unquote, like asleep, not like physical sleep, but like I'm awake walking around and then I'm getting a download. There's a second where like, oh, this is a download. And I kind of like step outside of myself, not like out of body experience, but like kind of like come up out in a different consciousness level and like kind of like observe myself receiving that download and being like, it's fine. Don't worry about that. It'll, like you're saying, unlock when it needs to, just let it come through. Is that what you're saying? Kind of like astral traveling. Yeah. I feel like that's very similar energy vibe. Like when you're astral traveling it's kind of like the same thing is happening. Like you're kind of popping up out and you're saying like, this needs to happen right now. It's fine that you're here. You'll figure it out later what's going on.
Yeah. In different times of my waking life, I have had a situation where something happens. Like I was in a very we were coming back from a delivery and a car hit the van, our work van, and it was like we got hit by a car, you know, but but we all walked away like it was fine, and the van was actually not usable after that. Like we're very lucky, right? So when that happened, upon impact, my brain, my unconscious said, oh, this is what happens when you experience this. It was like I was observing it. Yeah. You know, like this is like, that was my response. Like, oh, this is happening. This is how you feel when this is happening. I know that sounds really weird, but I've also had other scenarios where like breaking up a fight once, leaving TJ, partying in my 20s, and like these two guys were fighting, and this guy, and I got in between them, and this old man like punched me in the face, and I was fine. And it didn't hurt, and it was stupid that I was in the middle of it, but it stopped. But I remember thinking that, like, oh, this is what it feels like to get hit. There's a place that we go sometimes, like an observer standpoint, almost like you're observing what's happening to your avatar. And
that's very interesting, like a location. I haven't thought about it like that before, but yeah.
And I think that's what happens with Astral.
Like an observer deck.
Yeah. Well, a moment. I don't see things in a different way, but there is something about the quick observance of what's happening that makes it less scary. Like, because I heard you say, it's okay, just let it happen. And that's what my brain, like, I will go into that space. Like, it's okay with you're okay. Whatever's happening right now, you're okay. And I don't know if that's my ability to remove myself from the scenario as it happens so that I can stay calm or not, you know, maybe.
I have an example of how that happened. I just downloaded that's what was happening. so you know, this is two different things. So I got triggered the other day, and my hurt wounded self inside was wanting to react, and I went up to that observing place, I guess, and I was like, we need to process this later, because you're going to look at it in a different perspective that's not going to be healthy for you. So just let's bank that for a minute. But I went out to go to like a EDM show, and I was like creating a lot of shields and protection so my inner child and my teenage self could come out, and I could see people like kind of like staring at me. Right. I was very colorful person in the room. People were staring at me, and I got a little anxious, like socially anxious. And I now remember being in that observer deck, looking at my teenage self saying, you're fine. You're okay. Like to is bothering you. Like just have fun and enjoy yourself and don't worry about other people. But now you like triggered that to me. And I remember saying that to myself, like when I was out and about enjoying myself. Very
Yeah,
interesting.
it is interesting, right? It's like a safety mechanism, but it's not, because you're not going within and like it's like you're accepting what's happening, and you're rising to the challenge of it and saying we're okay, we can deal with this later. Yeah, well, that seems there, that's the shared space, I believe. And maybe it's because we're more comfortable with our astral travel or more aware of it, that when we, because again, it's not like I'm changing physically,
Yeah, you're still looking through the same lenses.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a trip. And I couldn't bring it on if I wanted to, I don't think. It only happens when, it's I'm sure it's my higher self, because I had a Kundalini experience before I knew what that meant. And then when I read it, I was guided to look it up. And when I looked it up for something else, I was like, holy shit, that's what happened to me. And that time I could see a pyramid as if I was, I don't know, a mile away or closer. And I felt like I was flying over pyramids, and I was having this full on conversation that was repairing a bunch of damage in my life with former dumb shit. And I was having a conversation, and after it happened, not during, but after it happened, I realized I was talking to myself, but I wasn't talking to myself. Like, I was having a conversation where the other person was part of it and answering. Like, I realized during it that I could ask anything and I was going to be given an answer. Mm-hmm. And of course now I'm like, oh my God, why didn't I ask this? And why didn't I ask that? But clearly I knew what I was supposed to be dealing with at the time. But I was definitely in a place where I was witnessing a scenery, and I was having this profound healing session. And then I also went through all the other stuff where I was observing. I had to keep checking in, like, okay, I know that I'm in my body because my eyes are closed, but I can see light beyond it. And I was laying on the ground, and in the bathroom. I was at a party, and I had to just remove myself. And so I was just trying to take a minute in there. Long story, not part of this podcast. And I also felt that with that breathing that you go through in a Kundalini experience, where it feels like you're doing the worm.
Yeah.
And I was totally doing that, but I was like, you're not moving. But I could feel all this unlocking in my spine and all this movement and stuff. And so that was from an observer standpoint, even though I kept checking physically. No, you're just laying still. You're here. Like, you're in your body, but all this other stuff was going on. It was like bi-locating. Like, I was in my avatar, but I was somewhere else. And yeah, maybe that's a good word for astral travel.
Like bi-locating. Yeah. I think it might be helpful for people too that are like newer to this to maybe do like a brief synopsis on what is dreaming, lucid dreaming, astral traveling, out of body experience, and remote viewing, because to me those are like very distinct things, even though they sometimes like blend in with one another. but the more I've been doing this, the more I see like it is its own separate thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's excellent advice. We could certainly we could do other episodes where we cover those specifically. Like, that might be helpful. And if anybody wants that, I'm sure there's a comment section that's coming. They can bring that up. I remember, because I've always talked about dreams and I've always read about dreams, and I would go in and just clear the library of every book in the metaphysical section. So like, whatever that library included, I would read about it. And so all this stuff would come up, and I would hear people or read about people talking about having these repetitive dreams. And I always thought, I've never had a repetitive dream. Like, maybe I would be in the same house where I live or school or whatever it was, but it wasn't like this dream that kept happening over and over again. And I wish it didn't, So when I started more recently being aware that I was going places that felt very familiar, but I knew I'd never been there in this life, that's when I started really realizing that I was going, at first I thought it was like a past life memory or something, you know,
Right.
like a really vivid dream where I'm like, I wake up and I'm like, I was there. I cannot deny I was there. I know I was there. And so because of programming or not having this knowledge that I have now, my first thought is, oh, that was like a past life memory. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like I'm the person I was with, I must have known that person in a past life. And one that comes to mind is just the scene of me running through kind of like a really big garden outside of like maybe a mission style house, and it was a friend in this life and I were running through it and laughing, and it felt really free and fun, you know. And I was like, but we were dressed in like kind of like long dresses, and you know, it was like a period, like you could feel it was a period of time that is not now. And I was thinking, oh, that must have been us, you know. And there was nothing else to gain from it or remember, it was just like the feeling I had. But now I do go places and I go to them often. And that's the difference for me in a dream and well, my friend recently told me when I was talking, I said, you know, I don't even think I dream anymore. And he said, no, you just switch channels, don't you? And I'm like, that's a
Yes.
good way to put it. That is
Yep.
a good way to describe it. Yeah.
Yep. No, I totally agree with that. Like with the dreams, like at one point I realized like, oh, this is me trying to work things out in my subconscious. Like there are things
Yeah.
that I have that are very traumatic and need healing. And to me, dreams sometimes will take you because I've always had nightmares. Like I've always had
Yeah.
nightmares, but I realized it was my way of healing faster on this plane to do that. So it takes it to the extreme so I can just like get through it faster, right? Like face those things and then integrate those things, the lessons here. And now I stopped having them as much when I switched channels over to the astral traveling,
Oh,
right? But I think that with dreams, it's projections of your subconscious trying to talk to you. And then there's lucid dreaming where you know it's a dream and you're actively trying to work it out. Astral traveling is you are going somewhere that is existing outside of yourself. Like you are out.
yeah.
And I have never had a repetitive dream either, but I have had repetitive astral traveling locations with
Yeah.
different events.
You want to talk about those?
Yeah, I can talk about the one that I told you about where I was on a street walking and I was aware, I was watching myself walking. Like we were talking about now that now that we're talking about it. So I was watching myself walk and these people like saw me and they're like, she's not supposed to be here. Like she's
Oh,
different.
that's right.
Yeah, she's different.
Yeah. I
And
remember what you're talking about now. Yeah.
yeah, and they're like, she's not supposed to be here. And so they took me to like this conference room. And like I didn't feel like they were trying to do anything malicious to me necessarily or like had ill intent, but they're like, you need to wait here, you need to wait, you need to sit. And I was like, okay, well, who are y'all? I was very like aware in the stream, like I was awake, like conscious.
Yeah.
Like I was also like I could see my body inside myself. Like I could feel that my body was asleep, but I was still attached and awake. And so,
Whoa.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was really weird. So I said, who are y'all? And they would not tell me who they were. Not evil, just like they weren't talking. And I was like, well, I'm not going to stay here if y'all are going to tell me who you are. And they're like, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. You're going to meet somebody. Just wait. And I was like, well, I'm not going to wait. And I called in Horus and Isis to come help me get out. And then they came and I saw them and they said, okay, let's go. And then I woke up and Kimberly and I have talked about that. And we were trying to like decipher like who those beings were. And then you had advised like, maybe you weren't supposed to be in that location. Like
Yeah.
you were not supposed to be wherever those beings were.
And they were benevolent. So they had been, I think they were in a position of knowing that they are not supposed to, their only job was to prevent you from being where you're not supposed to be, or observing something, you know, like you were too strong or too powerful, you got too close, they weren't prepared, they don't even know how you got in, they're not allowed to harm you, they're not allowed to even influence you, but their only job was just to distract you.
Yeah, they weren't even like talking. I was just like, what is going on here? And like, I was on a different planet. I don't know where that planet was or what it was, but it was like beings that looked kind of like humanoid, but they weren't. So I know it wasn't Earth. It was like somewhere else. And they pinpointed me as soon as I got there. Like there was just people walking around in the streets, I guess, like observing everybody. So I have no, that's one of them.
Well,
do you have
you give out, I'm sure you would give out like an energy read or something, you know, that's
I
what
could
they're
see
looking
myself
for.
with like I could see myself with like this bright light around me that not everybody had, but I didn't think anybody could see me. And the other people couldn't, but they did.
So I recently saw, so my I'm going to talk about one thing now, and then we'll go back to locations, because I do have quite a few interesting locations that I go to that I think other people would find interesting too. But where I go when I sleep that I've been remembering has recently changed into, because I've been asking for more classes and more like going up higher in Ascension school. I've been asking for like the next level, because I've seen classrooms. The prettiest one was in a forest, and there was kind of like almost like a wide path in a forest, and our desks were lined up in across that. And when I woke up, I was like, that was cool. I was in a class, like that was really cool. And I don't even know if I knew the term Ascension school yet, but now I clearly know that's what it was. But more of my recent memories in the last few months, I keep going somewhere where I'm being taught something. And a lot of times I feel like I'm supposed to bring that into this 3D life, you know, and I've been trying to figure out how to do some of the stuff. It's cool. But one was very interesting about it. Very, very recently, I saw myself talking to my friends. I don't know who they were, but it was in the neighborhood I grew up in. And as we're talking, I'm seeing this beam of light, like an orb, just about 2 feet from my body. And as I'm talking, I'm being shown just a very normal situation where it's like me and 2 or 3 other friends were laughing and having a conversation. And it's almost like I'm watching what would be the right term? Like I don't know, not a documentary, but I'm a tutorial. Okay. So I'm watching a tutorial, but I'm in it. So I'm bilocating. And it's telling me that this orb, everyone has it. I can only see mine, and maybe that you can only see yours, but everybody has this orb that floats around them, and it's a sensor, and it's part of your what would you call what exists around your body,
like your auric field?
Yeah, that would make sense. So it'd be like in your auric field, and it creates this dome around you, okay, of like 2 feet in every direction, right? That little orb, or that little ball of light, is always kind of right off to the side of you. But if I turn, it turns with me, and it's reading and sensing everything that's going on around us. So it's your, like when people say a sixth sense, I bet that's part of it.
Yeah.
But it's its own thing. It's totally attached to you, but not by a cord. So it's attached to your like energy field, and it's reading the scenario of everything that's going on and feeding that information to you, but you're not aware of it, but you're utilizing it.
That's what was around me when I was walking on the street. It was the orb that I was seeing.
Did you see something moving? Like
it was moving with me. It was almost like there was like a yellowish orb, like I was in a hamster ball basically. And it was like keeping people like a little bit further from me, but it was also as a shield, so people couldn't really like detect me, if that makes sense. Not that I was trying to be like mischievous or anything there. I was just like, I'm just here to observe and walk around. And then those other beings saw that bubble though, and they're like, oh. So I don't know if the other beings had some other type of system right? They're like, oh, that's the indicator.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's not supposed to be here.
Yeah, they're like, that's not, yeah, we don't have that here or something. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, I haven't been given any more information about that. And I didn't see the sphere. I knew that this light orb was operating on the sphere in a sense, you know, like, it was cool. It was cool. So, do you have places that you have been more than once that you know don't exist here, but you go to when you sleep? So you astral traveled. Are you aware of those?
I've been like Mintaka a bunch because that's where my like Starseed home is. So I've been there several times, and that doesn't even exist as a planet anymore. There's just a frequency.
Oh.
So yeah, so I've been there several times, and then there's been other places, but me with astral traveling is something that is still a newer concept to me, and still learning to not necessarily like control it, but bring that information here. So as far as like remembering locations, like I know I've been to a Mendaka a lot, that place. I haven't been there before, again, but I'm trying to think where else. It'll keep coming. Where have you go ahead.
I have a few locations, but have you ever been anywhere that makes you uncomfortable besides what you were?
No, I went to that market and I've been there twice. The market that we talked about, I've been to the market twice. I don't know what that is. It's kind of like the market in Aladdin, like that kind of like outdoor market. And I don't exactly remember, like I met this lady there one time, and then we were like having a conversation, and then I went there again, and I don't know what the market is or where it's from, but you told me that you've been to the market. And so I'm wondering if that's like a actual like physical location somewhere to like travel to that other people are traveling to as well, like like a meeting place for different travelers in different areas to come to.
It's a holding place. It's a holding space. It's a whole, yeah. So it is I don't know where it is. But it has the potential to expand and contract in the width that you observe it. And what happens inside of it, the scenery changes as well. But I know that it's the same place. And so I don't know if I'm aware that it's the same dimension, or it's like, I don't know if it's on what we would say is like, oh, well, that's a mile square over there, right? So if this thing is a mile square, I see it in, you know what, I associate the feeling that I have when I'm there more than what the space that I'm actually in, because the first thing I perceive in remembering is an indoor market. So it has a Asian or Middle Eastern feel to it for sure.
That's it. But it's like Middle Eastern feel. Yeah.
And there's also a market I saw in Star Wars that, or this type of scenario where it kind of had that feeling too. So it's vendors, it's stalls and vendors.
That's what it was. It was like vendors. Yeah.
There's food there. And sometimes it has, I think I'm in just different parts of this, and I think it's all the same thing.
Like a huge complex or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Because so sometimes I'm walking by looking at what I'm deciding on what I'm going to eat. I know I go there to meet people. I know I go there to meet people that are in my life, because I have seen at least 3 people that I know there on over and over. I've seen it in the capacity where it feels more like the auditorium from my elementary school, where there's a stage, and I don't see anything happening on that stage, but I see a place, because sometimes I see it. Sometimes I see the other side of this market where we're all sitting at tables. It has a very friendly social aspect to it. Like, you definitely go there to like meet your friends, to sit down and have a conversation, and often there's food, you know, yay us. And so I've seen it from like a distance where I'm sitting at the tables, but I see the market off in the distance. I've also seen it in a smaller capacity where it is their storage. Like, I don't know if people are moving their own stuff from place to place in there, or they're storing it there, because I've been in there with a bunch of boxes, and I've had quite a few meetings with someone there in that environment. I also I've seen people work things out on their own in there too, like what they're going through and kind of how they, like, I've been able to observe them trying to figure that's another story, never mind. But so yeah, I've seen, so it is a space that seems to, we all go to, and I haven't seen, like, I have not remembered seeing you there, but I'm pretty sure you and I
I'm
are
sure we will.
probably,
I'm sure we'll see each other at some point.
yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever been outside the earth, looking down at the earth? Because that's one that I have done several times, where I was just thinking, like, what are the places? And I have like been up off of it and talking to like other beings that are looking down at the earth, like conversing about what's going on earth. Like, it's real small. It's like this big.
Yeah.
Compared to us like talking. And I've been up there with like Gaia before, and a couple other beings. So I don't know if that's somewhere that you have seen.
No.
It's very interesting. And then
I'm definitely
getting a download. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I've been off planet a lot, but not from that perspective. That's really cool though.
It was very interesting. And then I was just, okay, so I was kind of like downloading the same time you were talking, because my guides were like, that's what I do when I am connecting to people's soul contracts and their Akashic records. And it's not remote viewing, because that's not happening in current time, but it is a form of astral traveling, because I'm traveling to a time and space in either the past, present, or like not a co-currently wandering, but like a past or present. It's like a time capsule that I'm traveling to. Because like I can see somebody who's lived like in a specific like planet or fairy, or like the fairy dimension or unicorn dimension or whatever, but it's not currently happening. So they were like, that's another form of like astral traveling, but not remote or out of body.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay. Well, I didn't realize. Okay, well, all right.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, now I'm like, do I have to rethink all of the things that I thought was this? Maybe it's this.
Yeah, because I'm awake.
You know?
Because I'm awake doing it, but I can still see and perceive it. But I'm traveling through the ethers, but I'm awake.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. No. Okay. I haven't had that happen, but I understand what you're saying. That's cool. Yeah. No. I go somewhere with a body of water. Every once in a while, I remember being in this body of water, and I'm not happy being there. Like, I'm kind of floating above it, and I see things swimming by me, and I feel them, and it makes me really uncomfortable, because even though I know that they don't really mean me any harm, I'm not in control of what's happening to me, and I don't like it. And I've only been there a few times, and fortunately it hasn't been recently, and those are the uncomfortable ones, where I'm like, what are all these dark, like, they even look kind of scary, like it would be like a shark somewhere else, but because I'm aware of what's happening and I'm facing it, I'm like accepting it. I don't really have a choice, but I'm accepting it. I know that they're moving by me. It's really weird. It's that I don't know where that place is, but I don't think it's a very good place. Yeah. I don't know why. I don't know why I end up there sometimes. It might be like where I've had to go in between lives when I've been kind of a dick in another life or something, or another dimension. I don't know. But I don't like that one. But that's the only negative I'll bring up. I recently heard that there is I don't know why I think this is going to be sounding like the craziest thing that we're going to say during this talk, but that there is an amusement park on Mars or Venus.
Oh, yes. And yes, because I've been there with my inner child. Yeah, and we talked about that. Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh, I've been to an amusement park a few times in my dream where I was like, this is happening. I have a very strong visual of, and I know Forrest was with me, my kid, but I think he was younger, and I don't remember anything about him except that he was with me. And I know there's other people, so that I have this perspective of walking across, like we're entering where the amusement park exists, and it's like dirt, like almost like in a desert or something, you know, but just dirt. It was nighttime, and as we're getting closer, more is coming into view because it's all really well lit, and we enter into this huge warehouse type space that I believe is of course is like the gift shop.
Okay.
Of course there'd be a gift shop there, because it has that feeling of where you're like, oh, this is cool, and you're like, look, oh, I want this or whatever. And I've seen that, and entering into that, oh, I can remember during the daytime now too, so I've been there day and night. I've been in that part a lot, so that's when you enter in. But then I wake up sometimes and I know that I've been at like the back end of a amusement park where I'm not seeing the rides, but there are these offices there. And I don't know if maybe I work there, because it would be more of the perspective of like if you were working in the park and you would be in these offices doing something, and then you'd come out and then you'd be in the amusement park. But it's like the back part where there would be like places to rest and sit and like restaurants and stuff, and it's not the rides themselves. I haven't seen the rides. I'd love to see the rides. I can only imagine. But I've been there a few times. One kind of had a feeling of almost like it was younger, like a Legoland type thing, where it definitely had more of a youthful feeling to it. And the other one that I'm talking about with the offices and stuff feels older, like something that existed when we were younger, you know, and not as modern and contemporary and advanced. Yeah.
Have you been to the Hall of Doors?
No, but I know what my Akashic records look like. But no, I haven't. I've read about the Hall of Doors in a lot of fictional books and stuff. So have you been there?
I've been there a couple times, and I would say that the times that I have kind of felt uncomfortable is like going in through some of those doors.
Ooh.
And like some of them were great, and then some of them were like, I don't like this. But it's like this really narrow like thing, and it has like all these rows of like doors that you can just like open and like peek in or like walk in or whatever. But I don't know what that is, the Hall of Doors, but because you don't really need the Hall of Doors to astral travel, so I don't know if anybody else knows what that is.
I heard two grown men, like super soldiers, discussing how they believed, and it was cool, they believe that Monsters Inc. is really shedding the light on what really happens, like that's one of the movies that is a disguise to tell you some real shit. And that's what I was visualizing when you said all the doors.
Some of it's cool, some of it's like
the other two places that I go to mostly are just like, it's funny, it's almost like housing developments. And I know that I have a pretty cool condo, and they're all kind of stacked right above each other, up against this rock. I know I go there, and then there's something in the same space where you keep driving down, and it's houses. So I know it's like where we go, and I know I live there, but I don't have a lot of memories of what happens there. It's been a while, but I go to this really cool location that I know I now am pretty convinced is inside the earth, or a earth, but I think it's this earth. And because it has a cave-like feeling, but then there's halls, so there's like a hallway that has like lights, and it's kind of sci-fi that you would walk around to get here, but then you get to this one spot, and I've observed, and there's like some lights and computer type stuff on the walls, but I know that they're cave walls, which is, so it's like the combination of the two. And I've seen myself and my niece receive this really beautiful blue sparkly light from above come into us, and I knew that we were receiving like a download. I saw it one time right before I saw her, and I was able to tell her that we were both there, and that was really cool. And I've been there a few times in that exact location, so that is some kind of charging station, or
Oh,
where
very
you go
interesting.
to get something. That was cool. Have you ever been in a ship or seen yourself from the perspective of a ship?
I've been on a pirate ship before, but not like a pirate ship, but like a pirate-ish ship.
Ooh, that's cool.
Kind of like what's that boat in Egypt that goes to like go to the you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of it is, but that type of
it
wasn't
goes
that
down the Nile.
boat.
Yeah.
I also think it's interesting that my repeating dreams that I've had are holding areas or meeting areas. But the ones that you're having, that you have repetitive dreams, are like you're going to like specific locations. And I'm wondering like why the ones I remember are more of like holding meeting areas. Cause like I'll have a lot of astral travels, but not ones that are like repetitive, but the holding places are repetitive. So I don't know.
Yeah, because maybe we're just maybe we all do both, but you and I just remember the different parts.
Yeah, maybe so.
So lately I've met two important people in my life on this kind of like back patio of somewhere. And I have been working on stuff with them. Like we've been creating things, and those are the things that I wish I could bring over here, but this one of them's really cool. And I was just talking to my sculptor at work about this, because I'm like, we could figure this out. If you can visualize a bar of soap, like the size of a bar of soap, okay, but the kind of fun artesian soaps that you'll see at a farmer's market or a fancy store, where there's it's handmade, and so there's things in the colors in it, or like not a picture, because those are cool too, but like just marbled and like chunks of other colors in there. So I saw myself with this little artist palette spatula. I saw myself with a spatula, and I was building this thing that ended up looking like a bar of soap, but I knew that I was building it with, let's say, if you could take quartz crystal, rose quartz, amethyst, onyx, sapphire, anything, take those and grind them up into dust, and you create a paste with that, and you start building this thing. So in this part, I knew that people had put in requests, and so somebody wanted 20 different things on this brick, and so I was like, okay, I'm going to pick up some of the quartz crystal, and I start it, and then I go to the amethyst and I add to it, and it looked like, and it started to dry in this brick pretty quickly, and so I could build this entire thing in kind of almost what people do with orgonite, but those are like whole rocks. I mean, I know they do like dust and smaller tumbled rocks into it, but this was really a paste. So like somebody could put in an order, and I could build them this thing that they would use, that was so custom and personalized. And so instead of carrying 20 crystals in your pocket, you would just carry this brick, or you'd sleep next to it, or okay. And it was I mean, I'm a baker. So it was almost like taking what I do in real life and turning it into like creating that into something that's not edible, but for somebody to use for other things.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what the bricks are for, but I wonder if it's your own personal like vibration, like battery, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I mean, like you could have a menu, because it kind of like you would have a menu and be like, well, I need some love, and I need some protection, and I need some intuition, and I'm like, hold my beer,
super cool. Yeah.
And so I would build this whole thing, and then fulfill the order, and get someone would pay for it, and they'd have this rad thing, and it was not one would ever be similar to the other, because it would be a certain amount that they would need, and I'm sure I would be channeling what they would need. It was really cool though. Yeah, it was really.
You remember when somebody told you that you were like are a healer with your hands and a crafter, and that's why you like chose the profession that you did in this lifetime. Like, I'm wondering if you've done things like that just in like a lot of different incarnations and like different ways, capacities.
Yeah. We should probably stop writing words and the filling of cakes as we put them together when someone has wronged us then, huh?
Yeah. Okay, so do you have any tips for people who are like newer to astral traveling? Because like even for me, like now that I'm realizing it, I do have a really good handle on awake astral traveling because I've been doing that with readings with people, and I didn't realize like that's what I was doing. But when they're sleeping, you need to have like protection, and there's also like different crystals that you can work with. But like the astral traveling, like I think people sometimes are like, oh, it's just dreaming, but like that is real in another time and space, even though it's not going to hurt your physical body. Like when I was in that place with those benevolent beings, they were like, you're in a place that they cannot touch your physical body or your soul, but we still don't need to just be out here traveling unguarded and unprotected. So like with me, like I talked with, and this is not going to be for everybody, but I talked with Horus and
Your
Isis.
boyfriend?
Yeah. Horus and Isis, and I was like, listen, I'm not an expertise in this area yet, and I need some guidance and some protection. Like, and when I said that to them, now I call them and they will be there in the astral realm if I need them. But like there are things out in the astral realm that are not of love and light.
Yes. Yeah.
So
because I have recently taken my power back in a few scenarios and discovered that the moment I did that, things changed. I would say if you're new to this, doesn't matter. People, anybody, okay, if whoever has found this and actually stayed to this length of this video, you found this for a reason. You were drawn to this for a reason. You're resonating with what we say. You don't find us crazy enough that you have stopped listening. So you who are still here, and everyone else around you needs to remember that they are a goddess or a god, that they are strong and they are powerful. They are in control of anything that happens to them, and nothing is allowed to harm them.
Yes.
And not only just acknowledge that, but believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to view ourselves as who we and what we truly are, and not stuck on this dense, heavy 3D earth, which is beautiful. And I'm so grateful that I'm here. But it is, this is like preschool. And now if you're here and you're waking up, you are starting to remember how powerful and amazing and beautiful and wonderful that you are. And if you believe that, and it's not everybody can believe that right away, but when you get to the point, when you work on your self-love and get rid of your codependency and get rid of wanting to start arguments and caring what other people think, and I know these are easy things to say and not easy things to do, but when you can deprogram all the bullshit that you have been programmed to believe up until this moment, and you can just let it go, and you can breathe a sigh of relief that you are not wearing that bullshit, that heavy judgment anymore, and you can truly step into your power. When you're on the other side and something starts to mess with you, I personally have turned to the whatever that was and been like, you have no power here, you are not welcome here, I did not invite you here, you are not allowed to make me feel scared or anything. And once I did that, I went into that holding place that we were talking about, and I saw someone who I now know as one of my teachers in Ascension school, and I started to show him something really cool. And when I woke up, I was like, you know what? Those fuckers have been distracting me from getting to the next part of my astral travel or my dream or whatever, because they knew that the moment I woke up and I was powerful enough to get to the next step, first of all, they couldn't influence me anymore or keep me back from that. But second of all, dude, I'm witnessing some stuff that's amazing over there. And so those little scary things are like so unimportant. And if you don't give them your power, then they will not be able to stop you from the next thing that's coming. And the next thing is rad.
Oh, that's beautifully said. Because after I had that thing with those omnipotent beings, benevolent beings, and I was like, I'm not staying here if you're not going to tell me who you are. And like, I left. After that, things really started to like open up more, because I was like, I don't care who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. No, you owe me some answers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I, instead of just letting like things happen like they had in my dream of like kind of just being like, well, this is happening to me, like, no, I can control what's happening.
Yeah.
When I met my oversoul, I met my first soul spark when I went into a session with somebody who like, he didn't mean to take me there, but my oversoul brought me there.
Yeah.
And she was like, I need you to see that this is you. Like, I need you to understand who you actually are. And after that day, everything changed. But I had to like fully say like, yeah, I get it. I see. And sometimes I slip back because we're human and whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. But after that, I was like, yeah, okay.
Well, that's amazing. Wow. I'm going to be thinking about that for a while. I was able to, because I overcame this recently, I was able to identify that this thing, whatever is trying to keep you from stepping into your full power, knows what you're afraid of.
Okay? In 3D too. So, in 3D, like it projects down. Yeah. I don't think in the astral, I think that we have mega distractions that we think are the real world, but it's actually that force that you're talking about.
Of all the things that I could bring in to scare me on the other side, for some reason, ever since I was little, and it didn't happen very often, but throughout my lifetime, I've had these dreams where I look and out of the corner of my eye, I see something moving, and I'll look and it's furniture moving, which seems like, but that's scary. Like when something is not supposed to be moving, because I am aware that there's a presence moving it. That's more of it too. Like it wasn't showing me itself, but it was scaring me that it could control my environment, you know? And I would have those dreams a lot. It's been a long time since I had one of those dreams, but this one in particular, it was in where I live now, which is weird because it almost looked like, a lot of times when I dream about where I live, I know it's my house, but it looks totally different, you know, a dream, not an astral dream. But this was my place where I live now. And I saw a couch move, and I saw it kind of like I was having a conversation with somebody and I saw it happening, and I looked over there and I'm like, dude, like we're done with this. Like I'm not even going to give you any attention. I remember thinking that, you know, and I think that thing was like, huh? Wait, hold on, you know, like this has worked for so long, you know. And right after that, I was at the tables of that market, and I walked up to one of my teachers and I said, look, I can do this now. And I started moving, so it was my phone or something with my fingers, and I started moving something to show him that I had been able to I can through telekinesis, or no, there's another word for it, when you can move an object, right? And I'm like, and then I had a message for him, and I was telling him, and I was actually, I had a phone appointment with him for a session the next day, a video appointment. And I was able to tell him, I'm like, I've never known that I have a message for you, but this is the first time I'm ever going to say this. I have a message for you. And I was able to tell him some more stuff. But in then like really observing that, because it was very like, here's a good clue. If you remember, and for years remember this dream that was profound and it felt real, that's astral traveling. Yeah. Like if it doesn't just go off and kind of you lose it and whatever, and it, you know, situational and arguing with somebody or trying to find something or whatever, those just kind of dissipate. But when you remember with your senses what it was like to be there, that was real. You were there.
I just had like a mega download while you were talking.
Oh, good.
So one of the places that have been reoccurring dreams for me and astral traveling is my childhood home that I grew up. But now I can tell the difference when it's a dream or when it's an actual like astral travel. Do you remember when I called you this one time and I was like, I astral traveled to my home and this shadow person was trying to attack me as a child, and like I just started doing like all this light language and just kind of like throwing it up at that being, and then it dissipated. I just realized that shadow being was a being that was actually like attached to me when I was a kid, and I would be awake and I would see it, and it would like run at me, and it made me like it messed with my sleep and dreams, and it was like went on for like a long time. And I think that shadow being was a distractor, like that, like it was like, oh, I see that you can perceive, and I'm going to try and scare you. And then I finally took care of it when I was in the astral field, when I got to be an adult, when I called you and said, oh, I astral traveled and took care of that being.
You're like,
I just realized it was the same being that was, and it was a distractor as a kid. It was trying to scare me.
I didn't mean to laugh. Well, I laughed because I got this feeling of, I'm on a roof. Sorry. So I had to let the air circulate. I had this feeling of you, because there is no time, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Another podcast, but there is no time. So by you 20 years later going, hold on. And you go back and you're like, by the way,
we're not doing this no more.
We're done with this bullshit.
Yeah, like, you terrorize
hold
my
on.
child.
Yeah, I haven't. I should have done this. I should have done this a long time ago. But this is over. Okay.
I was like bounty hunting. I was a bounty hunter going to find that shadow being person or whatever. It was really scary when I was a kid. It was very scary. It turned me off. Like that's actually, so I saw a shadow person the other day, like in my waking life, that went by me trying to scare me the other day. And I was like, I literally don't care that you're here. Like if you want to vibe, that's cool. But if not, then you need to leave. But like, I didn't flinch at all. But that would have turned me off. Like I went so many years where I was like, spirit, I don't want to see anything at all, period. Because of that shadow person when I was a kid. But after I went back to take care of it, I started like perceiving and seeing a whole lot more stuff because I wasn't scared of it anymore, because I realized I didn't need to be scared of it. It wasn't going to do anything to me. Just like you were saying, it's not actually going to harm you.
Yes. And you have to believe that you have the power to tell that thing that it can't.
I had to build up the confidence to go back and take care of it, because I think I was still like a victim to that fear. Right. And now if I see that, okay.
Well, it's scary. It's super scary to perceive. It's super scary to talk about. But when it's happening, something switched inside me, and I was like, you are not allowed to do this. Like, you don't have the power over me anymore. Like you don't get, okay. I had this really funny, very funny situation where I knew I was in a room and I was standing on a bed, and I was looking at the armoire that I do own now. And on top of that, this is so funny, but it's not, because it went bad. So I'm looking at the top of my armoire, and I know you'll remember this in a minute. And I see these little stuffed animals, and they kind of had like a Furby meets like what's that stupid Five Nights at Freddy's?
Okay.
Like stuffed animals, right? And I'm on top, and I was standing on my bed, so for whatever reason, standing on my bed, and I'm looking, and I'm not that far away from this, and I see one start to wave at me, and I was like, hey, and I'm like, but in my mind, I was like, it's finally happening. Like I'm seeing something that I've been waiting to see or remember. Maybe I was like, I knew I was going to remember it. And so I was really excited. And so I waved to it and waved, and I think another one moved, and I'm like, this could be really scary, but it's not. This is actually really cool. So then I said, I need to remember this. I need someone else to witness this. I want to be able to prove that this is really happening, because I know it is, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, you know, can I videotape it? And I don't know who I was asking, because nobody else was in there. But I guess I was like getting the permission of these cute little like animal energies, you know. They're
Mm-hmm.
just cute little things. So I'm getting my phone out, and in the way that like in a dream, like you try to hit record and it doesn't work and whatever, because like that's, you know, of course that was happening. So I finally go to record, and I must have figured it out. So I finally go to record, and something starts pulling their heads off, and I didn't see what that was, but like I just saw like the fluff, like an animal fluff, you know, and I was like, oh, what the, you know, and I was so pissed because I was like, don't do that to them, and like, who are you to come in and like mess up my moment, you know, like these guys, we were having a moment, you know, and you just ruin it. And I got mad, and I think that's what helped me, is I got mad, and then I was like, and I stood over it, and I just started doing the stuff with my hands, and I don't even know where it came from, and I was like kind of like moving my hands over the animals, and I'm like, you leave, like you have no power here, you cannot scare me, I'm not giving you the right to take my power away from me, you're banished, like leave, you're gone, like you have no power here anymore. And then is when I went into another really cool thing, and like received a major download, and like some cool shit happened, and I know now that all of those just uncomfortable enough to make me stop and back up, all those things were staged to keep me from the next thing that was amazing.
Yeah, because I think that if you are scared of things that are like spooky, right?
Yeah.
And you're not in your sovereignty and power, it shut down the filter to everything else too. Like all the awesome stuff, like like all these different planetary systems and unicorns and angels and all the things that people love. Like if you're just blocking everything because you're scared, and same, that was me for a long time. Like that fear doesn't allow you to see the wonderful things either. Yeah.
Well, and it's true. Like I just got a download or things kind of meshed and made sense. The same program that's running here of like work yourself so hard that you get sick and then fall into that sickness and make it last a lot longer than it should. And we're, as human beings, we should never get sick. Like we were created to be perfect. We are created to live 200 years. We are created to stay young, and you know, and that's probably one of the hardest programs that's running here, is to just destroy us, right? So the same thing that is undermining what it is to be human, what it is to, and you know, the pharmaceuticals and the watch the news, and you know, and all the stuff where all this negativity comes in, which is only created to keep us from remembering how powerful we are. I'm sure that's the same program that's running in our dreams, that and it's just because, and when we're still living in the program and we're not awake, it would be really easy for that program to continue to scare us on the other side, because we're fully invested in it. We've completely accepted it, you know, and so it's real easy of course it's running when we're sleeping, but once you wake up and you start breaking the glass and breaking the cords and the attention and the energy that this thing has, that we have handed over to it, once you stop all that, it's gonna make some attempts to like pop up and still try to scare you or distract you or make you look over here, or you know, or whatever, and then you see it for how weak it is. And that's a really powerful feeling.
I love that. I'm going to go off topic for like 2 seconds, because when we were talking about programming, I have to tell you about something this girl was talking about on TikTok that was like very eye-opening. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So she was saying how romantic love with a partner is not overvalued necessarily, because it's still like a wonderful thing, but the programming detracts from how much love that we can receive from community, and tries to pigeonhole you into a romantic relationship and put so much weight on it, because they're like, oh, well, if you and one other person are in your home, like in a monogamous relationship, you start to like sync up your beliefs, values, and fears. But if you're in a community with people, you get in like tidbits from everybody, like ideas, innovation. And then when people are upset about something, they start to get like really riled up about it, right? But that doesn't happen as much with like a couple. And so like part of the program is putting weight on you will not be fulfilled unless you are in a romantic relationship. But this person was speculating that that doesn't have to be, that you can get that same kind of love from a community. I was like, that's very interesting.
Or animals. Yeah, no, I totally, I 100% agree with that. 100%. I think codependency is one of the worst pills that we swallowed when we signed contracts.
They want you to get codependent. Yeah. Though, like they want you to isolate with your partner in as far as you can. And I was like, whoa, maybe that's why maybe that's why I haven't been in a relationship in a long time.
Yeah, no. Okay, from birth we have been told you need to get approval from outside yourself. You need to be told what to do. Okay, there are certain things, of course, that we need to be told what to do up until a certain age, you know, and never stop taking advice and never stop learning from the people around you. I'm not saying don't take advice, but we are the only ones that can heal us, love us, feed us, take care of us, tell us when to lay down, tell us when to wake up, tell us how we truly feel, tell us that it's okay. You know, like we go to the external for every possible thing that we are feeling or seeing or doing, because we have been told our entire lives that our opinion doesn't matter.
Yeah, and other people's perceptions of you aren't even real because they're not in here. What they are seeing of you is like what they have pieced together from like what you've shown them. So it's not even like they're not even giving you opinions or advice on the whole entity of you.
Dude, if I am of a multiverse and I have lived more lives on the galactic side and 1,500 lives here, and I've also had this avatar for quite a few years. If I feel something, who's better at telling me how to gauge that than me? The TV or the book that was written, or of course go to other sources to learn. Of course go to other sources to bring that information into your collective of how you think this program is run, and how, you know. And no, I'm not a nutritionist, so of course I go to the advice of a nutritionist or people that I sync with or whatever on what I should be eating or taking. But when it comes to who I am as an individual and what kind of power I have and my own validation and what true love feels like, and all of that's inside. You'll never get that from another person, because the universe only knows how to respond to what you tell it. That's it. It has no choice but to give you what you are asking for and what you believe. That's it. Your perception of yourself, and your, like, I feel like I'm an amazing person because I am an amazing person. I'm kind and I'm good and I'm working on myself, and I love myself and I love my ideas and I love my abilities. And no, that's not coming from ego at all. That's like, I'm aware of who I am and I'm aware of what I have to offer. So I vibrate at a certain level. No one else is going to be able to vibrate at that level unless they're doing the same thing. So the only people that I want in my life for true advice or for true, I wouldn't say validation, but like, there, you know, of course I have my moments when I'm like, am I crazy? Or, you know, did I say the right thing, or did I act impulsively or whatever? If I want to bounce that off someone else, dude, they better be vibrating as high as I am.
Yeah.
Because anything below that is going to give me the wrong example, is going to give me the wrong advice, is going to start messing with my unconscious. or is going to try to bring me down, because the last thing a negative person wants to do is see somebody else succeed. You know,
That's what
we have to be
happened when
so
I got triggered and I said, hey, let me tell you about this good news. And that person said, I don't care about that. And I was like, I should not have shared something with someone who's not resonating on that wavelength. And that was a lesson.
Yeah. And we'll get reminded of those often. And, you know, and once you can feel sorry for that person, you know, whatever. And this is not me stating that I'm aloof and above anybody that's in my life. It's just that if you when you want advice, or you want to share something, or you want to celebrate something, it's so important to pick the right person to bounce that stuff off of.
Absolutely. 1000%. And you know, what's so funny is I just got off a phone call with a friend, and I was talking about how I used to help people with guides, like spirit guides, like very much, like all these wonderful beings, Mother Mary, Jesus, you know, everybody. And recently they have been telling me that is more of the old way of doing things. No disrespect to guides, not saying not to connect with guides, because they're awesome.
No,
we love them.
Yeah.
Okay. But they have been telling me recently that we are shifting into channeling your own higher selves from the other incarnations.
Ooh, that's cool.
And that is who you need to be getting advisement from. Not that you can't get it from them too, but the best person to advise you is you.
Yes.
And different lenses. Well, different lenses. Like, well, I did this and this is what happened, and I did this and this is what I learned, and like all this stuff, and like just go in and channel your other higher selves and ask them to come forward. And it can be for anything. You want to get a real estate license, go in and ask if you have a higher self that was really good at sales.
Yeah. Are you good at styling a room?
Yeah. Do you know about feng shui?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. It's funny, even though we picked a topic, there was no way we were going to stay on it.
Yeah, we kind of. But even then, like with astral traveling, though, like you could ask, you know, some of your higher selves to astral travel with you, or take you somewhere, or ask their advisement on how to, you know, better astral travel, or, you know what I mean? Like, I'm going to do that tonight. I'm be like, hey, higher self, you want to take me somewhere that you've been, that you like?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm. I like it. Make sure I'm wearing the right gear.
Yeah. My oxygen mask, if there's no oxygen.
Yeah. Be careful. No, I'm kidding.
Also, if you're watching this and you're like newer to astral traveling, I would say that I don't think that it's healthy to astral travel every single night, because your physical body is like literally not getting enough rest. And so, but you have to like declare before you go to sleep, I'm not astral traveling this evening. Like, I am too tired and my physical body needs to be more tethered, and ask your angels and just say, like, I'm not doing that. Because I've noticed that if I do that when I'm not rested, when I am astral traveling otherwise, when I have energy, 1,000 times better.
I'm
exhausted if I astral travel and I forget to do that and I'm already tired. It does not go as optimally. And I'll just some nights be like, I'm not doing that tonight. I don't want to do that. I'm staying in my body.
Yeah. I believe we go out of body every night. But now that you're saying that, I do some of these things that I remember. Most of what I remember for me is kind of like interpersonal relationships, and a lot of like meeting somebody that I'm happy to see, but we're sitting down and we're exchanging ideas or whatever. So I think a lot of it is that. And then the major ones, when you're traveling somewhere, or you're, you know, or you feel like you're doing hard work or whatever, those are the ones that probably should only happen like once a week. That's a really good idea. The other thing, if somebody's new to this, when you wake up and you're tired, you were traveling.
Oh yeah.
When you wake up and you're like, I'm exhausted.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you immediately think like, oh, am I getting sick? Or like, did I not sleep well, or I must have woken up a lot, or something's wrong, right? No, nothing's wrong. You just went through it. Like, and you probably should listen. You should listen to that and spend the rest of your day taking it easy on yourself, because you're probably taking in a bunch of information that you just gathered, and it's trying to like find its way to where it belongs and like give you a tune up and everything. And it's totally okay. If you wake up tired, allow yourself to feel like you just ran a marathon and treat your body that like you did.
That's why I had to put those things in implementation of saying, like, I'm not doing that, because I run a business and I'm a single mom.
Yeah.
And I'm a very busy lady. And so, like, I have a lot to do on the 3D plane, and I can't always be up in astral lands doing work up there. Like, I need to function here. So, like, that's it. 2 or 3 times out of the week is chill. Like, that's cool. But I need to be, my physical body needs to be together.
That is why every time I get a reading from a new person, I hear 2 things. And you exactly what you told me. I need to ground.
Yeah.
And that my higher chakras and my like my third eye and are so expanded, and I spend so much time anywhere but here, and that I need to ground. And so I think if anybody else feels that way, like if they feel like it, I think it perfectly explains why I've always had this really amazing fantasy life. Like, my imagination has never been blocked by anything. And you know, that's part of manifesting, but I can create like whole other places where I have this running story going, you know, like when I still do it without even realizing that I do it. And that you're really in tune with that. And so if you have the capacity or the tendency to be in la la land all the time, not grounded, like you need to work on whether you're walking barefoot on the ground or sitting on the ground, or everybody needs to go out into nature for 5 minutes a day, and not talk would be great. You know, not interact and not talk would be great. That we have to do, whether we like it or not, we're here. and we have to treat ourselves as if we feel that that's important, and that we have work here to do. Because if we're constantly leaving, escapism has its place, and especially when you're sleeping, you know, you're doing a lot of work. But yeah, when you're here, you have to work on being in the present.
Yeah, if I'm in my upper chakras too much, I get real disconnected from this plane, and it makes things real wonky. Like real wonky.
I would get irritated. Like every time I would hear it, I'd be like, yeah, I know. Yeah. But like, that's just that's who I am. That's who I am. So it's okay. And no, I mean, yes, it's okay. But like, I have to put equal importance on grounding and
yeah, because then you don't appreciate the stuff. Like when you are grounded, it's like, oh yeah, I love being grounded. I love being connected into Gaia. I love people. But then when you start getting up here, you're like, bump all that noise.
Yeah, fuck people.
And it's just we don't want to do that.
Yeah. real easy to be in your to stay in your happy place.
Yeah, but the earth plane is a very happy place if you are looking through that lens, but you got to ground to look through that lens, because oh,
I know what I'll do. I will purposely, I'm always looking for stuff anyway. Like I see things move, but not like fully formed and physical. Like I see orbs and I see energy all the time, but I don't see, like I'm going to, but I want to see fairies. I want to see Sasquatch. I want to see all the cute little things that live in the earth and the plants and the trees. I want to see all that. And so I bet a really good way to, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to work on my grounding by looking for the little earth energies. Like the little,
I can tell you the first time that because I see energy like you're talking about, like I don't actually like see the physical form, but I can like see it energetically. The first time that I saw a tree and I accessed his records, like not meaning to. It just showed it to me. And then I saw it where in a past life it was a dragon, and I actually saw the dragon around the tree, like the aura. And I started bawling my eyes out because I was like, oh my God, I can actually like see it with my physical eyes. Is when I went out to the woods with no music or anything, and I was extremely grounded in my body.
Yeah, that's so hard for me.
I know.
Yeah.
Me too, but like you can, that's the first time and that tree was like, if you want to perceive stuff like that, you've got to be grounded.
Yeah.
Because your eyes are physical. We can see the energy with our third eye, but your physical eyes are physical body parts. So like you have to look through those, which is a different lens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
you and I are very good up here, but not here.
Yeah. Eye contact. I'm up here. Yeah.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. Well, because I'm always focusing on my other weirdo senses, like smelling.
Yeah, same.
People. Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need my physical senses. But those are cool too.
Yeah, it was just pointed out to me, and I'm trying to understand this better, that I have a very strange ability to know what something feels like without touching it. So I have this thing with texture, and like I can perceive the way something feels if I were to hold it without having to hold it, which sounds like common sense, but it probably is. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that though, because I have that other strange thing where I smell pheromones, but I perceive people to be associated with other people by a scent. Like everyone has a scent, and it's not the way you smell physically. I smell like your energy,
like your essence.
So I know
I smell your essence.
And I use that a lot, and I need to I mean, it helps, but it also it keeps me in my head, because I'm like, oh, that guy smells like this other person that I remember, and but I also remember how, like, it's funny, I have the same reaction to this person as I had to the other person, and it has something to do with that smell, but it's not a smell, and because it's not from my smelling sense, so it's something I'm perceiving. I think I'm mixing my senses. It's very strange. It's like when people say that colors make them, they smell colors, or like they can smell words and things. I have that, but it's with people. It's weird.
I get that. I get when I'm around people, like I can sometimes, like I'm getting better at it now, where I can like see where you're from, or like what type of energetic stamp you have, like if you were an elf or a fairy or whatever, right? But it gets me up here too much and disconnects me from like actually participating and interacting in my real worlds. And so I gotta find a balance between those things.
Yeah, but then that's channeling. So when people wonder what channeling is, it's using all that information and then bringing it forward into the physical, and like what we're doing now, talking about it. And I never realized how much of a channeler I was until I started to understand that part of it.
Yeah.
Like where does all this come from? You know?
Oh, we could do a whole nother episode on channeling.
Yeah.
But we are like an hour 20 minutes now, so we probably need to finish up.
Okay. we'll let everybody's brain rest. But if this episode moved you, and one of the hundreds of really strange things that we brought up, you'd like to know more, just please put it in the comments, and we will definitely do this again, and maybe have a written list of the things that people want to learn about, so that we don't get too off topic. That would be really cool.
That would be cool. We also have, I think it's funny that you and I have like a wide breadth of knowledge, because we're very like hodgepodgey. We're just like, I'll take a little bit here. So if you have anything that you want to know more about, put it in the comments, not just with like dreaming and astral traveling and things of that nature.
Yeah. Well, this is we're the personification of Aquarius and air signs.
Yeah. Yes, this is a very Aquarian chat.
Yes.
Yes.
We have all that spacey energy.
Yes.
Cool. Well, you know
Yes.
what? You don't have to you don't have to agree with what we said. You can ask us questions about what we said. You can add to what we said, and just thanks for being here. Thanks for
thank you.
Going on this astral journey with us.
On this journey with us, astral travel journey. And use your, like Kimberly said, use your intuition, your discernment. Everybody has different truths, and that is okay.
Yeah, we're all arriving at the same place at different times in our lives, and it is very eye-opening.
So, some of the things I said when I was listening to us talk, I was like, that's a lot.
Oh, that was the point that a lot of people probably
they're probably like, okay.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It is. So what is the term? Divine authority. When you are speaking with divine authority, it is your truth, and it is what you, everything you're bringing to this moment in life experiences, and going down a lot of rabbit holes of learning something. Yeah, and that's what this conversation is about. Well, this is cool though. I mean, this is why I wanted to do this. I realized, and for years now that I've been listening to lectures and podcasts and interviews, what I enjoy the most is when two people that I resonate with talk, because they spark something in each other that just brings about this great conversation. And like, I learned something. I learned about myself in this. I learned about you in this. I have all these other things that I'm probably gonna, like, for the rest of the day, I'm gonna be thinking about this conversation and learning about things I brought up that I've experienced. Like, it's gonna take my experiences to another level. So I'm hoping that's what this does for anybody who found themselves here and stayed.
That is still here with us right now.
Yeah. Well, hey, bring up topics that you want to learn about, because guaranteed between you and me, there's been some rabbit holes that we've gone down, and there's been some conversations we've already had about it, or there's some shit that we'll learn about just to talk about for you.
Yeah. So I can go, send me on some more rabbit holes so I can go down. I need some new rabbit holes.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody, we will see you next time. Bye.
Bye.